Welcome to part 2 of the Partnership Lab called Your Operating System. We're about to jump into lesson 2.1, which is about identifying your ideal partners. So let's talk about a case study to demonstrate the importance of an ideal partnership. And this one is all around business travel. So we're all familiar with Airbnb, and I'm sure you will have been familiar with WeWork, who is now operating in a very different kind of format. Whenever we think about a partnership, we have to always come back to the intent behind why two organizations or two people want to come together and partner. The intention in this case is that Airbnb wanted to attract new business travelers. WeWork, on the other hand, sought to fill unused co-working spaces. And together, that combined intent led to make a business travel solution more seamless for both the traveler and for the people working at WeWork so they could fill those underutilized spaces. Every great and ideal partnership also has multiple benefits added to it. So in Airbnb's case, more business traveler bookings, which meant that they could expand beyond leisure travel. For WeWork, they found that they had increased utilization of the co-working spaces through Airbnb's customer base. All makes sense so far. Now let's go into the time or the duration of the partnership. We refer to that as the era. And the reason we talk about an era instead of a duration is that we like to be able to look back and think about what has happened in the time that we were partnering together. You'll often hear people say it's an end of an era. They don't often say that was the end of the duration. So what we're going to use here is the term era so that we can almost backcast from the point of the partnership coming to a conclusion and looking back on that and just imagining what the upside of that partnership was. In this case, they launched a multi-year agreement with the option for expanding beyond the original term based on demand. Now, one thing that makes a partnership very, very strong is the team who is there to execute on the partnership. And we refer to that as the allies. Who are the allies on the other side of the table that can help us achieve the outcome? And your partner will be looking for those allies inside your organization as well. In this case, both companies had dedicated teams from business development, sales, operations to make sure that the partnership could be executed well. And then there is the all-important first win. Airbnb added a WeWork workspace option for business travelers in 6 international cities as soon as the partnership started. And that created momentum in the partnership so that there was a material milestone that could be met after the partnership agreement was signed. Now, you can see across the board here, IDEAL spells ideal. And this is the ideal framework. It does have one other piece to it, and that is the little plus. That little plus refers to the next best alternative. In other words, if WeWork wasn't ready to partner, Airbnb could have gone to other partners like Regus or other co-working space providers in order to execute on a business travel partnership. So you've just seen the first case study of the ideal framework. When we look at the partnership operating framework, finding ideal partners sits as the bedrock of the system itself. So the goal in this lesson is to help you identify, prioritize, and select ideal partners. It's important because not every partner is a good partner. And we're going to get super practical by using the ideal framework to qualify the best fit for purpose partners. And there'll be a tool that we're going to look at very shortly that you can start accessing right now so that you can start identifying your ideal future business partners. All right, so why is choosing the right partner important? Why does it matter? Well, strong partnerships equal growth, efficiency, and innovation, whereas weak partnerships lead to misalignment, wasted effort, and frustration. A clear selection process ensures you only work with partners who truly align, no matter how they come into focus, whether it's through an inbound inquiry or by you doing outreach to try and reach out to those ideal partners in the future. Now, remember that there was one question that's important for us to ask around offering value. Would I accept this deal if I were them? Well, here's the second question. Is this partnership ideal? Just say it out loud. Is this partnership ideal? This is the bedrock for how we build aligned partnerships so that we can get the outcomes that we need. So let's look at the concept now, and then we're going to take a pause and we're going to go across to a worked example of the worksheet that you will have access to so you can start assessing what your partnerships look like right now and what are the ones you want to work with in the future. So the ideal framework helps to assess whether a partnership is worth pursuing. And remember, is this partnership ideal? Number one, intent. Do we have shared intent? We spend a lot of time on the intention because most times when you have the first couple of conversations with a new partner, they're trying to understand your language. You're trying to understand theirs. We're trying to decipher where is the middle ground? Where does that bond live? And how do we make that incentive chemistry work? Usually, it ends up being the case that organizations have a lot of conversations and then an agreement or a contract is exchanged. And it doesn't really talk to the underlying intention for the partnership, which means that by the time the deal is signed and we start working together, that opportunity to build a shared language between our organization and theirs has simply not had a chance to happen. And as a consequence, we start drifting. And that's why, in most cases, when a partnership doesn't work well, it's because the intention has not been set. So, intent is the... Let's look at D, which stands for dual benefit. And the question is there two benefits per partner? Now, it's fine for a partnership to have one benefit per partner, but if you have two benefits per partner, it means that you're a more attractive partner because you're there to try and deliver more upside, more progress for that partner. It also means that if one of those incentives, one of those benefits becomes less attractive as the partnership evolves, then you have another one to fall back on. So always looking for two benefits. I'll show you some examples of that in a second. All right, the era, we just spoke about that, the end of an era. The partnership should really start as a 2-year time frame with an additional year for an optional extension. So in other words, a 3-year partnership view. It's very important to avoid looking at an annual partnership cycle because whilst it will take you a little bit of time to get that first win, if the first win happens in 6 months and you've only got a 1-year agreement, then before you know it, you're renegotiating that next year, which often ends up becoming a big waste of time. So instead, look for a 2+1 option for every new partnership. L stands for land. The question here is, can we land the first win within 6 months? And the reason that's important is because we want to demonstrate to our partners that it was worth taking the risk on us, that together we were able to get very well organized and deliver something of great significance so that the partner can feel as though the bet that they placed on us was the right bet to place. So that's ideal. Now, of course, we had the little plus, and the little plus stands for the next best alternative. In other words, what is the next best alternative if this partner is not ready to engage? All of the ideal elements can fall in beautifully, but the timing might not be right. So the question to make sure that you've got options is to say, who is the ideal partner and are they ready? If they're not, let's look for the next best alternative. As you'll see in lessons to come, it's also a great negotiation tactic if your ideal partner, for whatever reason, is stalling or moving more slowly than you would like. So let's pause here and let's take a look at the ideal framework in action. Okay, let's look at the red flags and when to question or walk away from a partnership. The first one of these is when there is no clear alignment of goals. Conflicting priorities will lead to frustration. That's almost guaranteed. So keep an eye out if there is complete alignment. You'll know that if you have shared intention or not. Number 2, one-sided value exchange. If you're giving too much and getting too little, that is not a fair and equal value exchange. As a result, you need to think about whether it's worthwhile pursuing that partnership. Number 3 is lack of decision maker buy-in. If you're sensing that the decision maker is not really that excited about the partnership, then there could be a misalignment of goals or intention. Keep a close eye out on that. And number 4, a poor reputation or past failed partnerships. Now, there are a number of reasons why partnerships might not work, but if they have a long history of them not working or them being one-sided, that history of unreliability is a signal. It's always important to listen to it. Okay, so now that we've gone through the ideal partnership framework and we've also understood what some of the red flags are when it comes to partnerships, Let's look at the test you can apply to every new partnership opportunity to work out whether you should proceed or maybe say thanks, but no thanks for now. All right. So let's start with this question. Is this an ideal partnership using the framework we just walked through? If the answer is no, let's say thanks, but no thanks, and move on to what happens if the answer is yes. And if the answer is yes, does this align with our strategy, in particular around timing? The partner might look fantastic, but if the timing is not right for your strategy or where you are in your life cycle of your business, then we might say no and move on to the next opportunity. If we say yes, then the question is the value exchange balanced? Are we getting what we need and are we able to provide what our partner needs? If the answer is no, let's move on. But if the answer is yes, and usually that value exchange might not be exactly equal, but it'll be pretty good. The question is, do the potential benefits outweigh the risks? If the answer is no, let's move on. But if the answer is yes, let's take action. So let's review the new partnership test. If the partnership is ideal and it aligns with our strategy and there's a balanced value exchange and the potential benefits outweigh the risks, that's a great partnership to proceed with. If for whatever reason the answer is no to these questions, then we can say thanks, but no thanks. Because ultimately, if we say yes and the answer is really no, then we'll end up with a misalignment down the track. And life's too short to proceed with underwhelming partners. So this is the new partnership test, and you should apply it to every single new partnership opportunity. All right, so the key takeaways from lesson 2.1. Not every partner is the right partner. It's important to choose wisely. Use the ideal framework to assess partner fit and always ask, is this partner ideal? It's also really important to know when to walk away when serious misalignment becomes obvious. Okay, let's go to the partnership blueprint, look for lesson 2.1 and find the ideal scorecard link. I'd like you to use that tool in order to evaluate 3 potential partners that you're considering right now. Once you've done that, create a short list of your top tier partners, enter them in and run them through the ideal scorecard process. Now, once you've done that, we're going to move into lesson 2.2, which is designing your partnership development program. You're doing great. Once you're finished, hit complete, and I'll see you in the next lesson.